Spacious, powerful, safe. If you're in the market for a family crossover, there is a lot to like about the 2025 Hyundai Palisade. Without changing the recipe really at all, Hyundai has entered this model year with one of the best three-row crossovers on the market. And why would they change the recipe? I mean, just look at it. The Palisade is handsome. It even looks almost premium. Hyundai introduced this bold and busy grille design in 2023, and how convenient, the new look makes the Hyundai emblem all but imperceptible. I have a feeling that if one of these was creeping up behind you on the highway and you didn't know any better, well, you wouldn't immediately identify it as a Hyundai at all. And I think that's a feature, not a bug. But given that this is pretty standard SUV shape, and given the fact that our emblem, something that's normally highlighted on other models, is weirdly camouflaged on the Palisade, I have to admit that the Palisade has some pretty attractive styling cues, and ours even more so. And that's because this is the Calligraphy Night Edition trim. Basically, for those of us who need a three-row vehicle but want it to be, you know, cool. There's blacked out exterior trim, black wheels, these black roof rails, lots of black. There is a new trim level for 2025. It's called the SEL Premium. But essentially it just takes the old SEL's premium package and turns it into its own trim. The rest of the lineup is made up of the SE, SEL, and XRT, which fall below the SL Premium in terms of price, and the limited Calligraphy and this Calligraphy Night Edition at the top of the heap. Here's one peculiar change for 2025. Prior to this year, these were all auto-dimming side mirrors on every trim, but now in order to get the auto-dimming function, you need to get the XRT trim or above. That's a shame. Before we climb inside, do us a favor and subscribe to the CarGurus YouTube channel, because if you're in the market for a three-row crossover, we've got plenty of reviews. We've done the Ford Explorer, the Honda Pilot, the Toyota Grand Highlander. We've even done electric vehicles like the Kia EV9 or the Rivian R1S. If you're in the market, we've got you covered. Inside, we have more black. The upholstery looks and feels terrific though, with a suede-like texture on most of the seating surfaces, but nice leather elements on the edges and the armrests. There are plenty of bright metal pieces that help offset some of that black vibe. So we've got the speaker covers, there's some metal trim on the steering wheel and along the dashboard here. Honestly, it kind of makes the interior of this Palisade look like it might be in a Mercedes. Now, speaking of Mercedes, along the roof, we have this artificial suede headliner that looks and feels way nicer than anything I would expect to find in a mass market car. But the Palisade is more than just look and feel. It's the practicality all around me. Everywhere in here, everywhere I look, I have these smart storage solutions. Door pockets, a deep center bin, space down here for a larger bag or a spare pair of gloves, and this center console unit which has a few tricks. 1. Our test vehicle has a wireless phone charger with a thoughtfully designed rubber tray. 2. These cup holders that spin out and retract as needed, and a retracting cover if you like that clean look. It comes complete with this nice soft touch top. Now, that's all just in the front seat. In the Calligraphy Night Edition trim, it's even better in the back. Look up, sunroofs, look down, cup holders, door pockets, mesh pockets, look to your left, sunshade, look to my right, hey, that's you. How about your own climate control interface, heated seats, ventilated seats, a wall-style outlet so the kid can plug in whatever device they need to plug in. Or maybe it uses USB-C ports. We've got 2 of them here on the seat backs. I'm telling you, if you have kids and you want to keep them happy, this is the car for you. And if you have a lot of kids, Palisade's still the car for you, because the third row was pretty darn good too. Big enough for me, at least for a short trip. The third row has its own cup holders and USB-C ports, and on this trim at least, even these seats are heated. I'm telling you guys, this is pretty impressive stuff. Cargo space is solid too. 18 cubic feet behind the third row is on par with a Honda Pilot, although it's less than a Chevy Traverse, but it's more than a Ford Explorer. Now, if you fold down the third row, the Palisade ends up closer to the Explorer behind the other two, and the total cargo space measurement falls in line with the Honda and the Ford. If you want more, go look at that Traverse or the Toyota Grand Highlander. Three-row crossovers and SUVs today do not drive like the behemoths of the 1990s, and frankly, they haven't for quite some time now. But even by modern standards, the Palisade is a really nice driving vehicle. I mean, it's almost athletic, the way you get almost no body roll out of it, and remember how big this is. That's truly an accomplishment. But it also, I mean, the suspension is smooth and supple, absorbing all those bumps and breaks in the pavement. Like, ready? That was a little one right there, but it does so without tossing the entire vehicle. And it's quiet in here. I mean, there's a little bit, just barely any road noise, essentially no engine noise. Hyundai's engineers did a really good job with NVH, the noise, vibration, harshness, all the sound deadening materials. The only bit that I caught was just the slightest whir of wind noise coming off of the wing mirrors, but otherwise, it's a smooth, quiet, stable ride with yeah, I mean, great dynamics in the corners, really impressive. Under the hood, a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine makes 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Okay, now, when paired with the 8-speed automatic transmission, the Palisade's engine delivers plenty of oomph. I mean, it accelerates very nicely from a stop, and it manages that power pretty well. Frankly, if there's only one area that I would criticize, it's that it might be that the Palisade is making a little too much oomph. Because when driving in specific circumstances, mainly like that city driving, but where there's not a lot of traffic, you will catch that 8-speed automatic acting a little too eager to downshift. But otherwise, it performs really nicely. And I usually think that these big cars are going to be on the slower side. I routinely have looked down at the speedometer in this car and said, oh, I gotta hit the brakes. I'm going 5-10 miles an hour too fast. So, plenty of power. The steering feel is going to catch you by surprise, particularly if you base your expectations on the Palisade's size, because it's not heavy. Instead, I mean, it's almost feather light, particularly at low speeds if you're driving around in a parking lot. And it only weights up the slightest bit once you get up to highway speed. Front-wheel drive is standard, but H-Track all-wheel drive is available on every trim and standard on this Calligraphy Night Edition. Every Palisade gets a selection of drive modes. There's Comfort, Eco, Sport, and Smart, and the all-wheel drive models also get a snow mode, tow mode, and an all-wheel drive lock. Fuel economy is really the only true downside, because physics have this way of ruining the party, and as it turns out, 4,500 pounds in a naturally aspirated V6, no hybrid option, well, that means you're probably not gonna get the greatest MPGs. The EPA says that the front-wheel drive models should do 19 MPG in the city, 26 highway, 22 combined. All-wheel drive brings those numbers down to 19, 24, and 21. Now, realistically speaking, you're probably not gonna see better than 20 MPG unless you're regularly driving on the highway for a decent amount of mileage. The Hyundai Palisade is due for a more substantial redesign next year, and that's a good thing because if there's one area where it's starting to show its age, it's technology. The 12.3-inch touchscreen is big, yes, but the graphics are looking a little dated. For one, it's hard to quickly identify what each one is. I had to go a menu deep just to find the Bluetooth settings. Also, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto still require a wire, and a USB-A wire at that. Feels a bit too 2020 to me. Let's focus on what the Palisade does offer. There's Sirius XM radio, there's a pretty good native navigation system, and there's quiet mode for the rear seats, which now that I'm a dad, I can truly appreciate. You also have BlueLink Plus, which is the suite of connected features. It gives you things like automatic collision warnings, teen driver features, and remote start, which on a day like today is something I really wanted. The best part is that it's free to Palisade owners. There's no subscription charge, and that is what I call an honest to goodness value add. Finally, Hyundai partners with Harman Kardon for their premium stereo. I've always liked Harman Kardon car audio systems, and that holds true here. Now, you do have to get the limited trim Palisade in order to get the upgraded stereo, but I don't think you'll regret the decision. Now, anybody looking at a 7-passenger SUV needs to focus on those safety ratings. It's just all too likely that at some point you're going to have kids riding in the back. The 2025 Hyundai Palisade scored 5 stars overall from the NHTSA, but only 4 in their rollover test. It was also named a top safety pick by the IIHS, which is 1 notch below the best possible top safety pick plus. Now, before we panic, there are some curious caveats to consider. First, the Kia Telluride was used as the stand-in vehicle to evaluate the Hyundai Palisade. Now, don't look too confused here, because the Palisade and the Telluride are actually mechanically identical. They're basically the same vehicle. The other thing to consider is that the areas where the Palisade scored below the IIHS's top marks were in seatbelt reminders and latch ease of use. Now, latch, those are the anchors that you use to lock in a car seat. It was a little more difficult than it usually is for me to get my car seat base locked in this vehicle, but I didn't have too much trouble. I was able to do it. So essentially, if you make sure that your kiddo is strapped in, you can feel confident that the Palisade is going to be a very safe vehicle. There are quite a few advanced safety features too. Every Palisade gets Hyundai Smart Sense, which includes the standard stuff like forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, but it can also detect pedestrians and cyclists in addition to cars. You also get blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, lane keeping assist, safe exit assist, and highway driving assist, which blends that lane keeping assist technology with adaptive cruise control to make driving on the interstate a little less tiring. Now, if you get a limited trim Palisade or above, you also get the blind spot view monitor, which shows up in the driver information display when you hit the turn signal. I love this feature. The 2025 Hyundai Palisade technically starts at $38,215 for a base SE trim, including its destination fee. But if you want all-wheel drive, you're gonna have to tack on another $2 grand. And our as tested price for this Calligraphy Night Edition, it's $55,730. That does seem like a lot of money, but I'm not convinced that you can buy a car with this much space, this much style, and this many features for less money anywhere. The Palisade is a terrific value, and it's a terrific car. It drives well, but honestly, even more importantly, it offers best-in-class packaging. Now, the upper trims like this one, they truly feel special. But even the lower tier options deliver incredible bang for your buck. You can shop for a Hyundai Palisade on CarGurus.com, and you can share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.